don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video. So hello and welcome to today's Woodworking Wisdom. So today what we're going to look at, some kind of tool storage. Need somewhere having your tools that we could maybe move about. In here we've got some great things that we made when we came into here, all work on a French cleat system. But I don't have a room like this at home. We need to think about maybe how you store it. Maybe you want to move it about. Maybe you're going site to site. Maybe you've got your first toolkit and you're thinking about how you can keep it together, protect it and look after it. On the bench, we have a little bit of an idea of what we're going to do for tool storage. We've got a collection of tools we put out. Initial ideas on this, maybe we could make something that hinges open so you can shut it, clip it together, and there'll be two sides. The hinge thing will make it more stable to sit on the bench as well, take up less space. So obviously the tools we've used to make this are down in the description below. So have a look. There's a variety of things from hand tools to power tools. Nothing too elaborate, I promise. I spent a bit of time laying stuff out, trying to give me an order of where things have got to go, thinking about maybe how things will come in and out of the box. We've got to make locations. So now all I've got to do is memorize what I want and where. But take a picture. Right, so at this stage, worth doing that simple picture so you remember what was where, because we're going to move this in a minute. And let's say you can play around for a bit of time of what's going to go where, thickness of things, how things will lay out, trying to think about how they're going to come in and out the box. What do you want as basic toolkit can be another thing. We've obviously got a selection of tools there. So for materials, going to use a plywood body and front and back board if you like. It'll give us more structural strength, easier to do, no machining. So we've obviously got to cut the plywood to size. We've got to think about things like depth of the plane, so you want to measure things, start to have a look. And then I've drawn up a rough cutting list at the moment for thickness and depth of things to give me an idea of where we're heading. So next stage, I'm going to rip this down to those pieces. Okay, so we've trimmed our boards. I've laid them out on the bench on how they're going to go together on the box. So in reality, the inside faces are all marked. They're going to go there. We could have possibly left it of one piece, but my worry is when we cut through, we're going to lose a bit of width. The joint won't line up as well. But this is possibly making it harder to actually make the two parts the same. So it will either work or it won't. Who knows? So we've laid them out. They're numbered. I know which joint's got to go where. So set the dovetail jig up, okay? Why dovetail jig? It would be nice to give it that joint, have a bit of strength if you're going to pick it up and put it down. I looked at maybe finger joint, might be nicer to do. Plywood and dovetail jigs, ooh, tricky area. You've got to move really, really slowly. If you move too fast, you'll tear the fibres out and split the plywood, all right? So we've got to move nice and slow. So I spent a little bit of time, set the jig up, get things right. That's important. So I go, just do practice cut, check where we are. All right, so I played around with things like locations. Going to try and do both bits together when we machine them. So we're obviously going to use the dovetail jig. So we've got guide bush to fit in the bottom of the router. We have the cutter. We've got guide bush adapter, that ring. So that's already fixed in place. So want to make sure that cutter's dead central. If not, when we move the router about, can change how much cut we're taking. So need to make sure that guide bush fits nice and central. So first thing, we can fit the guide bush. That goes in. We're going to use this centralizing tool. So we're going to bring the collar on. Just going to bring it back up. So we have 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch on the other end, so we could turn it round. We've got a 1/4 inch collar in here, so let's do that grub screw up. Just going to stand the router up. We need to plunge it. Tricky bit now because I need a bit of gap. We can come in. Got to flip over so we can get to the nut. Slide that back. Really want this, if you like, fighting a little bit because of my height. Okay, first bit done. Bring the depth down a bit more. Now I'm just going to bring it back and stand it back. We're going to do the fixing holes on here. Hopefully you can see those. This secures that plastic base plate. It actually allows quite a lot of movement. Don't know if you can see how much that moves on that bar in the centre. So, next thing we want to do, release it. The cone aspect will, and if we just spin it by a hand, centralise everything there, and then we can tighten these back up. So I've spent a little bit of time to make sure we've set the jig up and the height up right. So I position that, okay, you can vary the height. It will cut both boards at the same time. It does take a little bit playing with. Likewise, we have the backstop, how far in we're going. That winds forward and back, so we can get that in position. We've locked everything in place. We're going to come across from right to left with the router, just nibbling the fronts off, and then we're going to go back into the joints and cut each one. Nice and slowly. Alright, so one practice cut done. As much as we burnt a little bit of the joint, nice slow movement. If you move too quick with the plywood, it will rip off the face edges because of the grain direction. So you've got to move slow and allow the cutter to cut it. So hence the fact of the slow movement. We've also got to use both sides of the jig when we set this up, because we've got right hand sides of the carcass, we've got left hand sides. So that's quite easily done by marking out what we've set up. Now I can transfer it over just with a pencil line to give me the position. I can set up the side stops so they're exactly the same place. So first corner cut, alright, so we've done both together. Now a couple of important things. I said move nice and slowly. That will give me less breakout on the plywood. Also holding the lower section of the router, not the handles, makes stability lower down. You're less likely to rock it. So that's another really good little tip. That by holding the base, going to be more stable, more controlled. So we've done the one. Got to work around the corners now. We're going to get all four done. We've got our dovetail frames, we've got one side, the other side's on the bench here. We want to do a groove, so I put this pencil line on the bottom here, each face, so I know where we want to do the groove. The groove is going to hold, in reality, the two panels, which are also going to have everything fixed to it. So again, we're going to use 1/2 inch ply. So what we've got to do is cut that groove. Now we could go 6mm cutter, but we want to go 6mm deep. That's quite aggressive on this as a cutter, and run the risk you get more chatter, more vibration. It'll work, but we're going to go slot cutter. So we're going to set the slot cutter up we've got on the router here, and we can have the boards, we can put them vertical, and we cut the groove all the way through. Luckily, with how my dovetails are, I can go right through the ends that won't show, which is kind of great. We're going to use some more of this 1/2 inch ply. This is the bits we practice the dovetail jig with. So that's our height we want to set our panel into. So we've got the thickness of the board. So let's lose our frame. If we put this on the router table, I can adjust the cutter in height, up or down. Alright, so I've got to wind it. So from there we're too low. If I come up a bit, deliberately, let's make it too high. I can feel what's happening here. Let's give us a bit more room as well. So we can feel that that's hitting the cutter. So we're using this as a thickness guide of exactly where we want to be. That's going to give us a good guide of where we need to be on our height. We now want a cutter that has 6mm forward off the fence. It's a little bit tricky to measure. So how about we go with this? Let's give us a rough guide. I'm going to say there. Lock these off. One on. Move this in. Going to zero it. Let's see where we are now. We are 7.6. So I'm going to deliberately come forward a little bit. Come in. Where are we now? 5.2. What did that flash up to? 5.22. Then if I deliberately wind the fence back, number scale's going up. 5.82. Ooh, really close now. 6.02. I think we'll go with that. That's just a fraction over 6mm. Next thing, just want to make sure we're measuring the maximum diameter of that cutter. So some days you might want an easy, nice, simple day. But it's fine, we've got a bit cross grain. We're going to have it in some of the panel material we've got. So we can either reduce the amount of cut. The other thing we can do, which will help limit this, is put a false fence on the router table. The pull out here is breaking the fibres because there's no security for the supporting grain fibres with the opening on the table. So as the cutter's coming round, it will pull those fibres out. If we can support them, be less damage. So we'll set up a false fence and I'll show you what we've done. We've measured the internal dimension of where that groove is, right? So you get your ruler, your vernier, whatever you need to measure both of those. Then we cut our panels to that size. We've got the same setup, so we've got the same distance of where we were going into, if you think about our board material, was there. We've got the same distance this way, so really good. Lines up. So with this we can go round these. Do that we have our false fence again, we haven't got any issues with the back corner pulling in. Really good. We've done all our routing bit, we've got the dovetails, we've got the front and backs in, if you like, top and bottoms, and I'm trying to think of really how you phrase them. So got these in here. All I've done at the moment is clamp them up, just to hold them in place so I'm not chasing everything around the workbench. I put the tools back on the bench so I've got an idea of what's got to go in where. Wow, what a task. So now I've got to start to think about how we're going to position stuff. So going to start one side, we'll work one box, so something like the plane, and again I've laid them out in the order. We can have up in the top edge what we're going to hold things with. We can use and make whatever you like. So dowel's easy to come by, that will fit nicely in between the handles and give me lock position so I can drill those. We can screw them in, that'd be good. Now at the moment, as I've said, we just clamp them dry. I oohed and eared about the fact of, do I sand all the insides up, get it done, glue them up, and then try and fit stuff in? But doing what we're doing now, got a little bit more openness that I can clean this up when we finish. We get all our location holes done. I can then sand it up, because we're going to put pencil marks and stuff inside it whilst we're doing the marking out for this. So at this point, I kind of, let's leave them dry, won't glue it. Then we've got that scope we can play around. So we're going to do the dowel. Other weird things we could use, rare earth magnets, because these are incredibly strong, so they will help fix things in place without having to have any mechanical clip to hold it. That could be quite nice. So it will allow us just to hold it in there. All right. So we're going to start one side, fit that, then we'll go to the chisels and bits the other side. For the handle here, we're going to use some round dowel. We can fix these in place, we can screw down through, or probably from the other side will be better for this because the plane's quite a heavy item. So probably fix these from outside. So we can do some round dowel, easy to get. We want to put them handle wise. We could either have them inside, one on the bottom. We could have it on the top here. We could have a combination of maybe 4. All right. So we know we go. So how long do we need to be? Handle there's 40, so we could come up 50 mil. That gives us good location. 50 there, so you want minimum of 50, maybe 50 sides. So at the moment, let's have a look. We're going to say we want one right down the bottom of that curve. We can have another one there, one down there. Let's do 3. So we want to cut those accurately to length. So when we're doing this, if you do it on the bandsaw, you've got the risk it's going to roll. So why not do it handsaw? Let's come down to here. All I've set up here, I've got my cut block we've used before. We can use this with a Japanese saw. I've got Veritas bench stop. You could have a piece of wood clamped on if you like. Something to act as a stop block. I can measure my length. That'll give me about what we want. Now we want to pull cut on these. We can use that block to give us a straight edge. Going to take one more. Alright, so we've set the plane up ready so we can do the drilling for the blocks, okay? Have to do a bit of a weird thing. We don't want any breakout on that outside edge where the plywood is. So if I drill through, you've got the risk you're going to bust through and splinter it all out. It'd be a shame at this stage. So I've got 2 pine blocks underneath. I've raised it up, and then I've got a piece of MDF, which is what basically the hand plane is clamped down onto the piece of MDF, pulling it up as well. So that stops the plane moving, also stops any breakout. That's the plan. Get a drill, we get our block that we've just drilled through, and we can use this then, get our position, load it in, and hopefully give me somewhere I can drill just in there, get our hole. That's one. So my piece of dowel really with the hole in is just giving us the offset between the centre of the dowel and our drill hole. So at this point we're just going to temporarily fix these in place. So I've gone with some really thin diameter screws, so it's not going to enlarge our hole that we've got down in here too much, not going to damage it. We can replace them once we've glued the frame up and put everything in properly. So at the moment this is just about a temporary fix. We put our saws in, hopefully you can see them. We've got our 4 little dowels holding everything in place. I've got a couple of other things I'm going to add, so I'm just going to wander around here. Going to do a turn button that maybe goes on here to connect across. That'll lock them in. Similar thing probably on the plane, stop it falling off in transit, but I don't know if it'll fall off. I put small rail on the bottom here, which is purely cut in so the saw will fit round it, but it clips the bigger saw in place. That works nicely. Started to play around with the block plane, so had different ideas on this. This little block we've made up, so I drawn around the end of the block plane. I was going to say scribed, but we've drawn it on. Then all I've done, little bobbin sander, and then I've done a couple of saw cuts from either side. That creates spring pressure. Isn't that lovely? So that's going to go down in there. Front one, just plain one. This has got to be drilled and then screwed in place. So our block plane, hopefully, let's just do a quick setup. We'll go in here to there. I need something really as a bigger clamp, but we're going to go with a small spring clamp just for quick use now. That'll go in. If we bring a bit of pressure back on there, means my block plane now has a bit of tension. Too much. Woo. That'll go in. I'll go there and lock it in place nicely. So we'll fix it in. The spring pressure on the back on the plywood will grip it just to create a bit of tension and stop it coming out. They will need to be fixed in place, glued onto the carcass towards the end. About 26, 25. Here, 18. So we did 20. That allows it to move. Okay. So we do a 25 first, halfway, or a little bit less. Then do the 20 on the middle. Then we do the cut. Hopefully this might work. So we're marking a mortise type gauge. Plan really is the fact that we can have a recess that will sit down into to hold it, stop it falling out. We can use the 2 bars as an entry point and also lock it in. So from here, I'm just now planning out how far back we need to come, where our turn point is, to allow us to know where the drill's got to be. The backstop here indicates possibly the back wall or how much distance we need. So all these little things are playing up what we got to look at. That's not bad. We could bring it in the other way, but that actually brings it further forward. You've still got the same position. So either way will work. Let's go that way. That will give you more hand room off the carcass. So again, just drawing a couple of guidelines. I can see my halfway is in there. Let's have a square. We're going to bring it in just a little bit. This stage, the plywood's way too big for what we need, but that gives us something to safely hold, drill. We can always cut it down. That's easier. How wide do we need it this way now? So that will give us the position. We've got a middle line that's indicating we need to be able to get a screw either side to go through. So let's have a quick look. Nice thing with this is we've got the gap in between that will give us a guide, as long as we can get down through. But I can mark it under with my pencil. Small little line. Flip that over. So that gives us our position for where our drills are going to go. Have our hole, have the recess which will sit in. Our plan now, we've got to cut it so the bars will slide in. Quick measurement check on here, we have 8mm. Let's call it 10. Make sure they fit. Just from looking a little bit off centre on my hole, nothing drastic. So we're going to come over 1mm that way and 10 over to there. Our square. Find the edge of our line. Then we get the handsaw and cut that out. So hopefully, I'll go into there, twist it round, stops it falling out. Carefully, we're going to lie this back down again. Why do I want to lie it down? Gravity's an amazing thing, but it works against us. So we need that. And this is really now just trying to give us a guide of where everything's sitting and where it's in here. So we can make sure we've got enough room to get the knife up and down. We could come up a bit more with that. Let's turn it round, check it's not going to hit anything. We could come over a little bit. The plane pulls out straight, so that's good. Knife has got enough room. We'll get in there. That's good. Okay. Couple of small pencil lines. And there. Let's just fish out the knife. We want the batten, or the bit of plywood I've got now. That's going down through there. That one marked. So we know in a minute we'll be able to mark our holes for that. We can have 2 or 3. We can screw them on. Same thing up here. Now I'm just going to take the plane out. Oh, will it fit? It's going to be tight that way. Let's go in there. So our square, I just want to check that. Seat square this way. That's good. And then again, just marking up something as a face. one side kitted out. So we've got our 2 saws, a few other things we might play with towards the end when I've got the last few scraps of plywood, and smaller bits will make the turnbuckles that go just to secure. So 2 saws, marking knife, a marking gauge, mortise gauge, so that doubles up, so useful bit of kit. Oh, plain screwdriver knob, because you're always going to have to take that blade apart. It's nice to have that special screwdriver. Small block plane, so last little bits we have to fix down for here. This will be spring loaded, allow that in out. So one side's done, still a little bit of space in there we could add stuff, but that gives you a basic little box of tools one side. So this side, got to start to figure out where and what we've got again. So we'll lay them out, get an order, and then again go through fixing things down. So at this point we cut the 2 bits of ply, we can fix either side, we've got a little bit of room, I've got to mark out where the chisels are going. I want to do the chisels first because the chisels have got to drop in and be able to pick them up enough, so they've got to be movement up here. Also got to look a little bit then at where we put the spoke shape so it lines up in between. So with the chisels laid in the box, kind of just sighting down, looking at where the middle of the ferrules are, give me a guide of where we can position those 2. That looks quite good, so we can go with that. We do exactly the same on the other now. I wonder if drop me in. I think that would work the same over here, so we'll probably repeat that as a drilling setting. So our sliding bevel has a nice curved section on the bottom, so we've drilled a hole. The aim is to get it to sit in there, so that's quite good. Let's just draw a parallel line up through here. Okay. We also don't want all that material, so this will probably get cut off, but we need something underneath to give it a bit of strength for a minute, so let's take it off there. Might as well get it nice and clean at this point. I'm just going to fiddle around with looking at where and there. Try and be quite heavy at the moment because I know it's not going to mark very easily. I want to do a cut down through there to line up. Pushing on nicely. Now we've got a couple of little bits I've done for the other side, the smaller side. So I've got a square, a couple of little holders we've got to just make up, but they will be glued in. All right, so I don't want to screw them in. So they're there. The other side with the plane, the saws, I've started taking out all the bits and I've actually laid them out where they go, because then I can take the box apart. We can clean up all the inside, get rid of any pencil marks, anything else. Then we can glue it up. We can add that back in after. We can also glue the bits of ply onto, which had a bit more strength. So kind of working through. So that one we take the rest of it apart. This one we'll look at the bits in a sec. One last thing before we sneakily move on. I've made a little catch that will go over so we can secure our hand plane. All right, so that will lock it in place, stop it coming out. So that's on there. Over to this side, what we added, we've got a square right in this edge with the same rebate cutter or the groove cutter we did the panel cut with. I've done a groove, so my square will actually sit just in behind there. So that can be fixed in place. But we're going to glue that in. Likewise, we've got our sliding bevel. We've then got our vernier as well, so that will drop down again. That's got the same rebate type groove. We're going to put 2 little magnets into here because that will just help secure there. Another thing, I'm going to do some magnets with just on the rule down the side here, so we can sink those in. We can do that with the pillar drill. We have the 2 boxes, we've got the tools in place so we know everything fits in. Few weird and wonderful things we get you in for a close-up. There's some magnets on the side here we drilled the holes for. We've obviously got the square position, so all those last little bits we've just finished up and then put everything in, and I've cleaned up the outsides. So next stage, really, we need to hinge them together. So to do the hinges, we're going to use a brass butt hinge. Exactly the same size as we used for the blanket box, which we did for the last vid. So I want to put those in. Now, instead of doing them totally by hand, we're going to recess them into the framework like we've got it now. I've made up a really simple little jig. So our hinge will fit in nice and tight. That's parallel. So all we've done is glue this together. So if we turn it over, a button that goes on the back, the other bit going to sit on, that gives us the width. So all I've done with that is super glue it together. Really simple to make. But also it's going to take a lot of guesswork out. So if we transfer it over to our box, as long as I've got my clamp in the right place, that can sit on. So it's already giving me the offset down, top and bottom, and then we've got one to do in the middle. So quite simple little thing to set up. So we can set the router cutter depth. So actually if I bring it onto our board and I bring it down, let's undo our depth stop on there. I can come right down, so I'm now touching, if you like, our frame. That's zeroed the cutter, so it's level in reality with the boards here. Then if we take our hinge, we open it out. We want one in here, so let's bring that up a little bit. I can use the fine adjuster, bring it down. If it's tight, it's going to give me a little bit of a gap in between. I want to close that up a bit, so allowing a little bit of gap there. So what we have here as a gap is what cut we're going to take. At this point we put not all the screws in, alright? I can easily adjust things, but it's worth just having a check. So to do so, we need to stand it up. It'll close, it'll open. That's not too bad. So from there I know I can put the rest of the screws in the hinges. You've seen me do that. Other thing at this stage, I'm going to do something as a handle. You could have bolt handle, you might want to do wooden one. I'm going to look at about halfway, so across the top. So we got our box. Now sadly, little brass catch I've ordered, it hasn't arrived yet. Okay, so what we got as a box? We've got our handle, we've got our dovetails. They're adding more strength to make it's going to last a bit longer, right? It won't fall apart just if it's screwed. We've obviously got the screws on the outside to see now. Outside, what do you want to do? We could oil it, you could paint it. Depends really what you want, all right? We'll probably put an oil finish on it to help protect it, keep the dirt off. We've got a handle, that works nicely, helps keep it balanced. And the handle actually on this, as much as it's quite a common type of handle, comes forward a little bit and trying to balance the weight out. So when you pick it up, yes, you can carry it, it's not going to tilt back. Also needs to be pretty firmly fitted because there's quite a bit of weight inside this. So from there, we obviously can open things out. So you have your toolbox you could cart about, you can put on the bench, you can set it up down the end here. All right, so that's giving you the scope of what we have. A couple of nice features in here. We've got our block plane. That works on a little spring-loaded bracket. We'll get you in closer. I've done a chisel guard, so the chisels drop down in between, so you're not going to catch those when you get in the mill. That also secures the spoke shave. We have magnet in behind the sliding bevel, so that will contact the steel bit. Roll down on the side here. Our square picks up, comes out. So everything's quite compact. There's even a bit more room at the moment where, I wonder what we could put in here. There'll be something, okay? So you can add more as you go on. We've got our turnbuckles to secure things like the saw. That comes over, allows our saws to come in and out nicely, but protects them. Likewise with the plane. So quite a few nice little features in there underneath the block plane, because someone's going to say, a little bit of rubber mat. Nothing drastic, just actually clipped in underneath the front edge where the screws are. Drop it to there. I can get it in. Oh, that clips in place. The back edge is spring loaded, so that will hold it nicely. So something is a bit of an unusual little project. We picked out a variety of different hand tools that you could use. Obviously, whatever you fit in this is kind of very personal and up to you. Your basic toolkit, so if you go out anywhere or you want to secure it, keep it safer, stop the rust getting to it a little bit, or actually protect it, and also protect those sharp edges from you and knocking one another as well. So when you get things out, hopefully it'll be nice and sharp. So hopefully you've enjoyed. That's a wrap. Hopefully you're going to enjoy this project, alright? So if you do, give us the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, you'll get those notifications of what's coming up in the coming weeks.